Another one of my favorite picks, which my boy Keith Sanchez was not a fan of on the Locked On NFL Draft podcast. It's okay, Keith. I still love you. You're still great. Georgia wide receiver Ladd McConkey going to the Houston Texans at 23. I know a lot of people. There might be some people who also don't like this because you look at Houston, you say, okay, well, they got Nico Collins, they got Tank Dell. Why take another receiver? My answer to that is no disrespect to Nico Collins. He wasn't a predominant one until CJ Stroud got there. Tank Dell is great, but you can never have enough weapons, especially in the loaded AFC. And you look at, a team like Cincinnati, who for the past 3 years had a really good trio of Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. When you face a team, you need to build to beat the Chiefs, right? And when you look at how the Bengals did it, well, yes, they played good defense in the second half of the AFC Championship game, but they also had a ton of answers. And so if you're Houston and you're building to beat the Chiefs, well, they've got two really good corners and L'Jarius Sneed, who they're going to bring back, and Trent McDuffie. You need a third option. Enter Ladd McConkey. And you can rotate him around. You can put Tank Dell in the slot, put Ladd out wide. You can move those from Z to slot. I think that there's some versatility there schematically. I think it makes too much sense where, again, you're scheming, you're building to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Because if you want to get to the Super Bowl, we've seen teams like Buffalo who have shown it does not matter how great your quarterback is, you got to have the weapons to get there. Baltimore didn't have the weapons to get there. Lamar Jackson didn't play a great game. The Bills, they didn't have the weapons to get there. Didn't matter how much Josh Allen ran all over them. They needed a guy to make a play downfield. And, they had the opportunities to do it. They didn't have the horses to make it happen. So if you're the Houston Texans, get as many weapons as you can. And behind them, you still have a Xavier Hutchin and a John Mechie. Still got Dalton Schultz and Brevin Jordan at tight end. You got to get as many weapons as you possibly can. Take advantage of CJ Stroud's rookie deal while you can. And just build as much of a monster offensively as you can. Because another thing that we've seen is you can be good defensively, but you got to score points, man. And Houston can score points with the best of them already. You add a Ladd McConkey into that, I think that Houston could be a sleeper Super Bowl contender with that offense. So that's one of my favorite picks. Again, I know some people might push back. You say, okay, the Texans should maybe take a corner there or something of that. And I get that. But it's a long draft. And when you can get a playmaker like that, you can get a weapon like that, you can't pass it up. So Ladd McConkey at 23, who was voted the best receiver in Mobile at the Senior Bowl by his peers. There's a lot of versatility there. There's a lot that Bobby Slowick could do with him. And I think CJ Stroud would really like him as well. That is one of my favorite picks. And again, I understand that there are more needs that the Houston Texans have on the defensive side of the ball, especially at cornerback, to have somebody opposite of Derek Stingley. Steven Nelson's going to be a free agent this year. But regardless, those are needs that can be addressed later on. And in free agency, they still have money. Like these are things that can be addressed. So I think that if Houston plays their cards right, addresses those needs in free agency, and even later on in the draft, Ladd McConkey going there makes perfect sense to me. You can't have enough weapons in today's NFL. And if you want to beat the Kansas City Chiefs to get to the Super Bowl in the AFC, you got to have weapons. And Nico Collins and Tank Dell are nice. Add a Ladd McConkey in there and make it that much harder on Kansas City, because that's what you got to scheme to build. That's what you got to build to get past is the Chiefs. And I think that McConkey can get them there. So again, that's one of my favorite picks